question with a quote, and the quote states that if you argue and rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometime, but it will be an empty victory because you'll never get your opponent's goodwill, which will then, okay, let me repeat that. It's a quote, inasema, if you argue and rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill. Today we are going to discuss on principle 10, and it states that the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Now, I'll start this conversation with a question. Oh, Nisha answered the conversation. Now, I would like to ask you a question, Bruce. Do you think this is true? And which one will you choose between winning an argument or just leaving the argument as it is? No, support your your opponent, ama niseme the other party. Which one will you choose?
I'd rather support my opponent than winning an argument, because at the end of the day, I'm human and I don't handle rejection well.
Okay, you've said for you it's better you support the other person than win the argument. Why is that? Umesema because you're human and you don't know how to deal with rejection. Yeah, that's true. And apart from that, what else?
I can only set up myself to win an argument if there's something in for me, like there's a motive behind it. If I'm intentional about maybe winning an argument, I'm going to do it if there's something in for me, like let's say monetary benefit. But otherwise, I don't want to make like a lot of enemies in life, so I'd rather support the opponent to talk my ideologies in terms of their interests than making them resent me by trying to win an argument.
You've mentioned something that trying to win an argument can cause you to have so many friends. Why is this so? Kindly explain.
Now, the reason why there's usually a lot of animosity between people, different parties, is because most of the time they engage in arguments. They share different ideologies about different perspectives of government policies or, let's say, agendas. That's why you find during the election period, what usually happens, the opponents usually try to defend the other by trying to make them look bad. At the end of the day, they are usually taken through a debate process where they are supposed to uphold their values. So at the end of the day, if you want more resentment and more enemies in your life, try to win an argument that comes across your life. Winning argument, you can win an argument, but at the end of the day, you lose the goodwill of the other person. So invest in their goodwill than winning an argument.
Okay, Florida, karibu sana. We are discussing on whether it's okay or whether it's best for someone to avoid an argument. That's principle 10. Now, Bruce, kuna kitu umesema that winning an argument can cause you to have a lot of enemies. Now, will you consider that as winning, since in a way you've caused damage to yourself or maybe to the other person? Will you call that really winning?
Now, if you care about your reputation, you're going to get between your reputation and the goodwill of the other person. Winning an argument, at the end of the day, will make the other party resent you whether you like it or not. So you're the one to choose what you really value. If you are principled enough and you are after upholding your reputation, winning an argument should not be an option. Try to maybe use another technique, like maybe talking talking in terms of the other person's interest. With that principle we talked about. So instead of winning an argument, try as much as possible to avoid it. And how do you avoid an argument instead of getting into one? Instead of getting into an argument, first listen to the other party. Try to agree with them based on what you believe. If what they're trying to argue about is aligned to some of your principles, align that to yourself so that you cannot get into an argument. So you better not get into an argument for the sake of it, unless it's necessary for you to do it, maybe to protect maybe your boundary or your dignity of something like that. So the better way is
Okay, umepotea kidogo Bruce. Kindly malizia. Okay, kama kuna some technical problems. Okay. Now, yes?
Wait, just a minute. What I was trying to say is try as much as possible to avoid arguments. Rather make the other person your friend and your ally instead of winning an argument. Try to see things from their perspective to get to understand them better. Try to be empathetic than making efforts to win an argument. Unless it's absolutely necessary for you to win an argument. For example, your profession demands that you win an argument for you to be paid maybe a retainer. If you're maybe a professional lawyer, winning an argument is it's necessary, it's out of necessity. But if not, winning an argument will make your life miserable, in the sense that at the end of the day, the people you argue with will end up becoming your enemies. You surround yourself with a lot of hate and resentment. So better avoid an argument than getting into one.
Wow, you umeongea with a lot of passion. Sijui, have you ever found yourself in such a situation where unapata you don't want to win that argument, at the same time your name is at risk? So have you ever found yourself in such a situation? Bruce, Florida, mnaweza changia?
Now, it's not like essentially if I've ever been in one of those situations. At some point, I was in sort of an argument with a student back in high school. It was a debate. So the student that I was arguing with decided to make it personal. He decided to attack me with limiting beliefs about where I come from, about my community. So when that happened, I felt like they're attacking my dignity, they're attacking my self-worth. And to avoid it all, I decided not to retaliate, not to respond. I just listened to them, and afterwards, I just pointed out the mistake, and at the end of the day, the conflict or the argument that was escalating was de-escalated, and I sat down with him afterwards, talked to him about what he was trying to do, and at the end of the day, we made a deal. Like, we decided, if we were ever going to be in a debate together, let's stick to context. Let's not personalize it in the name of I want to win this argument, whether you like it or not. So, arguments sometimes can get messy because sometimes people want to just win arguments, just to massage their ego, feel important or more significant than the other person. So it's not essentially a good thing. It's one of the worst experiences you can ever be in as a human being. So that can be an example of a situation that was close to being an argument that I've ever been to.
Okay, thank you, Florida. Ni kama Florida ameacha simu. Okay, there's something you've mentioned, Bruce, about on someone attacking you just because of a disagreement. Like anaanza kukuattack in terms of nitaje, where you come from, like wanaanza kuattack where you come from, your beliefs, ama maybe your tribe. Now, do you think maybe this can be one of the major reasons when you're having tribalistic fights and arguments in our country, yet the disagreements zenye huwa zinaanza hata haiguzii anywhere things to do with the tribe? What do you think? Na naona Florida kidogo, let Bruce answer this, then I'll come back to your question.
For some reason, a typical Kenyan family usually raised with a certain degree of limiting beliefs about other communities. So at the end of the day, people may grow up with a limiting belief that is dented because it has some sort of limiting beliefs about different communities. There's this mentality that it's sort of propagated in some communities. They raise a child with an idea that they are better than the other children from other communities in certain areas. So this child will grow up with a certain mentality about the other community. They'll always be like, because I'm from this community, I'm better than these other community when it comes to maybe athletics, when it comes to maybe business, when it comes to maybe making money, when it comes to maybe tech and stuff. So if someone is brought up in such an environment, for some reason they'll be abusive when they get into heated arguments with people from other communities because they already have a limiting belief about the other community. A limiting belief it has got like negative things about the other community, things that are defaming, things that are not pleasing to hear. Sometimes to protect the child or to make the child not to maybe engage or at some point interact with the other community well, they may be told that the other community maybe they usually practice witchcraft, like all of them or something like that. Like if you grow up in a family where your parents tell you that as much as you can, try not to interact with maybe kisses or kambas because you believe they are witches. If you interact with them at some point and involve yourself in a heated agreement, you can use that sentiment of a limiting belief that is hardwired in you as a way to try to hurt them. So I think it's one of the reasons why we are not actually united. We seem to be, like up front, we may seem to be united, but we are not. If something happens, like a testing moment, something that will put our beliefs to test, we may end up in a conflict because most of us have sort of dented belief system because they have a lot of limiting beliefs about other communities.
Wow, thank you for that. I think the key thing that I can take from there is, one, even us ourselves, we should try not to attack the other person because of their beliefs. Na as much as tumekuwa tukisikiza other people wakiattack other communities, and those some analogies that we have towards other communities, tunafaa kuzi-deplete, so that we may not escalate disagreements to arguments. Now, Florida, your question, you're asking what is an argument. For me, I can say an argument is a negative it's a negative action that has escalated from a disagreement. That's what I can say. let me repeat that. It's a negative action or a response that that is triggered. Ama? Nimesema? Let me repeat that. An argument is an action that comes from a disagreement that has escalated. That's what I can say. Bruce, Florida, naweza sema what is an argument, even though venye mimi naweza explain. Yes. Naona mmenyamaza. Bruce?
An argument could simply be a difference in expression of maybe ideas or thoughts between two parties. If you express your ideas in ways that are different from the other person, it can become like an argument. It can form a disagreement if you share different views about the same thing.
Okay, sawa. Now, this statement yenye ilikuwa made yenye ilikuwa like passed across kwa that book ilikuwa inasema there is only one way under heaven to get the best of an argument, and that is to avoid it. Now, najua kwanza most of the time utasema kuwa you will agree 100% with what the other party is saying. Now, this is the question. How do you avoid an argument? Because man, it's so hard to avoid an argument. Maybe Bruce, maybe you can take us through that. Mimi sijui, how can you avoid an argument?
What I can say about how to best avoid an argument, try as much as possible not to be impulsive in any way. The moment you respond to defaming comments from the other party, you are fueling the disagreement itself. So try as much as possible not to be impulsive. Try as much as possible not to be reactive. Try to be neutral. Try to at least get to understand the perspective of the other party before deciding whether or not to get into an argument. So, impulsiveness will cost you. Just be neutral. Don't react. Don't respond immediately. Take your time to understand if the disagreement you're about to get into is worth your time and energy.
It's worth your time and energy. Proceed. Amepotea.
So, that is essentially what I was trying to put forward. When you are in a situation that is likely to plunge you into an argument, don't react, don't be impulsive, be patient with yourself. Try to be kind to you. Try to ask yourself questions like, is it really worth it for me to do this? If I get into this argument, what am I going to get out of it?
Now, coming from what you said, kuna kitu umesema someone to be kind to themselves. What of you trying to try to understand the other person? Najua kuna sometimes unajipatanga yes uliaki kitu but baadaye mtu anakuja akwambia sunaona. You end up finding out that what you are arguing about, hata kama you felt like you won the argument, you are actually lying to yourself and to the other person. Now, this is my question. Now, apart from just being kind to yourself, what do you think of us also trying to consider what the other person is saying and also being kind to them? So, most of the time nimejipata kwa arguments, hey, na huwa naenda up ninasikia kama nijifiche chini ya mawe. Yes, what do you think? Florida, Bruce?
Now, when it comes to agreeing with the other person so that you cannot escalate maybe their conflict, only agree with the other party if you really share their perspectives about the same subject. If not, try to listen to get to understand. Don't agree with something that you don't really believe in. If they are putting forward an ideology that you are against, first listen to them. Then, in a wise way, afterwards, after they are done expressing themselves, you can have a sit down with them and try to explain to them why you are not in agreement with whatever they are believing about a certain subject. I think that can work if you can do it the right way.
Okay. Now, pia hapo venye umesema kwa going back to kenye nilikuwa nimesema, there are times you may find that you are trying as much as possible to win an argument, and maybe this disagreement can be an opportunity for you to be corrected before you make a big mistake. Now, what do you think someone should do instead of yapping kila wakati? Do you think sometimes you should like keep quiet and listen?
Not essentially always keep quiet. In an argument, maybe in a situation that is about to escalate into an argument, if you are wrong, admit that you are wrong, and you try to make the other person feel comfortable. Try to explain to them why you think that you're wrong. To some extent, you need to learn how to rebuke yourself once in a while so that you cannot be in situations that are going to hurt people around you. So, whenever you are wrong about a certain subject or a certain ideology and the other party is right, first accept that you are wrong and stand corrected. If you can do that patiently and in a way that is understanding, that will establish mutual understanding grounds, you're going to have like a better situation between the two of you and may not probably get into an argument afterwards.
Kuna kitu umesema you can try to correct them later. Now, kuna this story yenye nani alikuwa amesema, I mean it's in the book. Kuna this the author alikuwa anasema alikuwa in a party, and this party akapatana na this guy mwenye the guy as much as possible alisema kitu na akasema iko in the Bible, na the author alikuwa anajaribu as much as possible to correct him. Then akauliza scholar mwenye alikuwa anajuana na hizo vitu sana. The scholar akamwambia okay, Florida bye. Naona Florida mezani kama bundle zake zimeisha. It's fine, it's all. I'll share the link. I mean the video. Now, nani akasema the scholar admit akasema kwa this other party kwa alikuwa right and the author was wrong. Then baadaye after the party the author akamuuliza, mbona ulikubali ati Kenya alikuwa anasema it's a statement that it's from the Bible, yet you knew very well kwa haiko kwa Bible? Akamwambia simply, one, ungewin nini from it? You will have made an enemy, that's one. Two, the only thing yenye ungekuwa umefanya ni kumassage your ego. There's nothing that you will have gained from it. And that thing it can change so much. Now, this is my question. Is it a must every time tuseme, hata kama Yesu unajua kabisa huyu mtu anaongea uongo, do you think sometimes tunafaa like cool down, especially kama our leaders ama our seniors? Sometimes we are just supposed to be massaging their ego at the most, kwa sababu kuna this statement yenye ilikuwa made kwa that book ilikuwa inasema kwa people get their feeling of importance during an argument by loudly asserting their authority. Sijui mnaweza sema aje? Bruce, what's your take?
My take is when correcting someone or your senior, only do that in private do that in a space that will allow the both of you to establish mutual understanding grounds. If you rebuke your boss during a sort of public meeting, you're going to belittle him, you're going to make him less important, you're going to make people around around that meeting to sort of resent him. So if it's absolutely necessary for you to correct your senior or maybe your partner or maybe an employee that you work with, don't do it in public. Because if you do it in public, you're exposing them, you're exposing their weakness. And no one likes to look weak and stuff. So try as much as possible not to correct anyone in public, because by doing so, you're going to develop some sort of contempt towards them from the other people. If it's necessary for you to maybe rebuke or correct anyone, find a space that will allow the both of you to get to understand each other. Get to make the other person understand why they are wrong and give them the facts. Make them understand why they are wrong.
Okay, get to make them understand why they are wrong. Now, there are some points in state, and then we discuss briefly concerning the business system since siku record jana ndio tuweze kushare with the rest. Now, for the argument, this is what I can say. Yes, winning an argument, one, can cause you to have a lot of enemies. That's one. Two, it's not a must for you to win an argument. Now, if it's something that it's not factual, the other party ama the people around you wanaweza enda waangalie, then discover kwa it's not true. And I feel, and I think most of the time, I wish our government system wange comply pia na this rule. Don't try to win the argument. We are one. Mkipigana, you are fighting each other, na wenye wataumia ni sisi wenyewe. Don't fight. Kama venye kuna hii methali inasema nitangwaje? Inakwanga when grasshoppers wakifight, yenye huwa inaumia ni nyasi. The same. The government wakifight, wenye huwa wanaumia ni the citizens, and they are there to serve us. So please don't fight. Now, pia kuna something else yenye Kongo I would like to put across ni when you're trying to bring up a point and maybe you don't agree with the other party. One, first is to the first thing is don't trust yourself. Like, put your place in a position to allow the other person to speak. No appear benefit of doubt. That's one. Two, distrust your first instinctive impression. Hiyo ni hivyo tu ndo nilikuwa nasema. One, don't trust yourself because unaweza jipata in some way what you're trying to put across, it's false. Na another thing, ukijaribu kuargue na mtu, you don't know who they know, na ujui mali penye mnaweza kutana nao. And another thing ni people just want to feel important during an argument. So as much as possible, make them feel like they are right, hata kama wewe mwenyewe unajua they are wrong. Please, it's the best tactic. Kwanza kwa watu wenye ni seniors, okay, kama ndio the senior, it's fine, but kama pia ni senior na unataka like pia kuwa na good a good relationship with people, try to use this. Appreciate the other person before you correct them. That's a key thing. But kama ni your seniors, let them feel, massage their ego, let them feel their importance, let them feel it, like massage their ego baka wanataka tu keep close for you to pamper them. Please do that. It's one tactic that has worked for me. Seti mimi ni snitch or anything, but know who to strike and know who to pamper. That's a key thing. Yes. Then another thing, what I can say is that try to build bridges of understanding. Don't build higher barriers of misunderstanding. Please, try to build that. Nimeikuwa in an argument mali baka karibu tufiga, and it was something silly, and it's just because I was the project, now I was the program coordinator, and I was in charge of some things. Now this person was not doing in accordance to what I felt like they are supposed to do, na kidogo alikuwa amekuwa na some scandals of fraud kwa that company, na argument ilikuwa imeescalate baka karibu, ningesema ni karibu ni mslap. And as of now naketi chini na shanga like, why did I do that? Na baadaye nilikuja kujua like they were just not they didn't feel like they're being understood, like that party hakuwa na feel kama nilikuwa namuelewa, and kidogo I really regret that. So try as much as possible to build that bridge of understanding, and don't try to build a higher barrier of misunderstanding. Inaweza escalate vibaya sana. Inaweza escalate vibaya sana. So please don't do that. Another thing, admit to making errors to disarm the other opponent. It's the best tactic. Agree kwa ulifanya makosa. A good suggestion naweza sema, nana kama ukiwa kama if you're making sales, I mean when you're doing your sales, ama maybe when you're trying to convince someone, na unajua as much as possible this person Kenya anasema it's not in my favor. So what you'll try to do, waonyeshe yes you are wrong. Kama maybe if you're trying to market a product, mwambie kama maybe kama ni unga ya 210 and maybe una advertise ajab, mwambie yes 210 ni tamu, and then mconvince. Kama alikuwa amesema ni tamu, mconvince ni tamu. The reason why you do this ni ume side up na yeye, so hana reason sasa ya kuargue kwa sababu you're now on his or her side, now hana kitu ya kuattack nayo. Now after that, now bring up now your product, now state why your product is better. Sasa in that way sasa mtaweza kuelewana, but sasa hakutakuwa na an argument, because that person will feel appreciated, that person will feel like you've listened to them, and that's one key thing in terms of sales. In sales, kama ujui how you can't listen to someone, you're in the wrong field. Please toka kwa hiyo kazi. Yes, the other thing is nimesema mambo ya thinking over your opponent's ideas and study them carefully. Please do. Maybe you're the one that's wrong. Please do. Now, the last thing which I can say is postpone your action to give both sides time to think through the problem. Mnaweza sema let's set a meeting maybe after 1 week and we resume this. Kwanza mostly kwa meetings it do help. Like sema tu like for now we won't make any decisions as of now, but after 1 week we resume this, and as of now let's go and think about it, and probably we'll come up with better solutions, and trust you me, it does help big time. So yes, and tukimalizia, this is what I can say. There's this statement yenye ilikuwa bado kwa the book and ilinitouch sana, inasema when one yells the other person should listen, because when two people yell there is no communication, just noise and vibration. Let me repeat that. When one yells the other person should listen, because when two people yell there is no communication, just noise and vibration. Yes. Bruce, maybe you have something to say?
No.
Okay, Florida, Nona, your mic is on. Do you have something to say?
Hi.
Hi.
How is everyone listening? We're talking about argument love. Kupigana na mtu na mkiargue. I think when you argue with somebody, It's maybe misalignment of principles, way of reasoning, culture, and in such heated conversations, I either go to this or the first one. The first one way is the most optimal way is try to calm the situation down and understand each other. And if that doesn't really work, me, I'm just a chaotic person who anasimanga katambe katambe. You go lie, go under.
Okay, thank you for that, Florida. Yes. Now, that was my parting shot. Try as much as possible to like cool down. Nyi wote mkipanda juu hakuna venye mtaweza kuelewana, mtatoka hapo kama mmelose nyi wote wawili meno, and it won't be of benefit to you or the other party, and more so nyi wawili ndio yenye mtaumia. Now I want us to have like a little bit of like a short briefing. Nona Florida may raise her hand. Yes, Florida.
I honestly think if cool down mentality, it has a very wrong detrimental side effect. Example, kulikuwa na kesi ya KQ juzi, the KQ attendant together with a customer were having a confrontation or an altercation. Huyu attendant akamrushia huyu KQ staff pads zenye zimeshatumiwa. Maybe as the KQ staff, you are expecting me to keep calm because I'm the staff and I'm supposed to treat customers vizuri. Aki, to be honest, mimi katambe. Wacha kazi iende. I don't know, like, think of it in that context. Like, if a customer can disrespect you, why should you be the bigger person and calm down and play corporate? So customers can do what they want, or people can do whatever they feel like.
Okay, wacha nipe Bruce a chance, then I'll come back to that.
Now, we also understand this as a human. The most basic form of showing disrespect is defaming someone in the name of we are arguing. So, disrespectful is usually responded by resentment. So, the best way to deal with people in situations that will plunge you into a conflict is try to avoid it. So, never get into an argument unless it's absolutely necessary. But the best way is always ask yourself introspective questions of whether the argument is worth your energy and time.
Yeah, those are good questions. Get to understand whether the argument is worth your time. That's true. Now, Florida, this is what I can say concerning that. Sitasema maneno mingi, but I can say this. You can measure the size of a person by what makes him angry. That's what I can say. I know sometimes watu wanakufikanga kwa core. Yes, I've ever been a salesperson. I know it's hard. Yes. And kwanza kuna siku yenye utakuja ujue how much you can take. It's when you'll be a manager. Trust you me. Hiyo siku utajua capability yako ya kutake not BS, like to take what, like how much can you hold. You'll get to know that when you start managing people. It's one of the toughest positions. Watu wanaonanga managers like mi naweza sema kila manager kwange tu na tunawaitangaje psychiatrist. Wow, because it's tough, yes. But concerning that yenye umesema kwa Umesema ni accountant alikuwa na nini, then mtu customer akakuja kumuongelesha vibaya. One, if I'm the manager of that supermarket, the person that I'm serving one is the customer. So the person that I'll first consider is the customer. And by the fact you can be triggered by a customer mwenye unafaa kumserve na unakuwa that negative and that aggressive, trust you me, I'll be the first person to fire you. That's what I can say. Two, hata ukitoka hapo by the fact umejulikana kwa you are aggressive, ulikuwa unajaribu kuprove your point, hautaki kuwa diminished or something, and yet you are working, there's no place where you'll go to and they will hire you. So utakuwa umejaribia jina. Ndio maana mimi wanasema most of the time try to think and try to analyze what you're doing, how much is the cost. And cost kwangu mimi naweza sema si tu pesa. So many people try to evaluate ama they try to quantify their action in terms of money. Ama nimesema nini? Yes, I mean they try to weigh their actions ama something in terms of money, but that kwangu mimi naweza sema that's just a fraction, because currency ni different. Money is just one type of a currency. We have relationship, that's another currency. We have a personal brand, that can also be a currency. You can earn out of by the fact tu ya unajulikana. A personal brand can be your currency. Relationships, unaweza jua mtu, inaweza kufungulia mlango mingi. Money pia it's also a currency. Bruce, yes, kidogo tu, I'll allow you. And if ukikosa kujua hizi vitu, sometimes unaweza jileta chini just because you are trying to prove a point. And trust you me, hata nikikuja nijue that alikuwa counter Kenya na nimjue, siwezi takata kuwa associated na yeye, ataniharibia pia mimi mwenyewe sifa. So venye nimesema the quote bado you'll know, you'll get to know the measure of a man but by what makes them angry. Yes, Bruce.
I've just remembered something. Talking of arguments, I'm sure at the moment you are aware that this in the world of public service transport, this brand Supermetro is trending, but not for good reasons. Apparently, one of the conductors was arguing with a passenger because of 30 shillings, and he ended up pushing the passenger out, and it resulted to the death of that passenger. So this is a typical bad example of what arguments can lead to. So I'm trying to bring to attention that arguments can have devastating effects. For example, the case I've just shared, the typical example of what an argument, if not handled well, can lead to. At the moment, Supermetro as a brand is suffering. Like at the end of the day, there are a number of users who are planning maybe to boycott using their services because of what they did. Their brand now is tainted. It's no longer like nobody's now, like people are now trying to and will try to consider alternatives because they feel like Supermetros, like because of that one mistake, they feel like their conductors are not competent enough to handle customers whenever there is a sort of conflict. So, conflict it's not always good unless it's managed in a wise way. If not well managed, like the Supermetro case, it can result to cases that you're going to regret the rest of your life. So that was what I was trying to bring forward.
Thank you, bros. Hope Florida umeweza kutuelewa. And I'll finish up with this before niingie sasa kwa business systems. One, Gen Z tumekuwa na hii tabia ya ati mnataka kuwa hard. Kwangu, forgive me, najua most of us hapa we are Gen Zs, but kwangu, for me, I can say that's a foolish tactic. The reason why I say that is hata Bible yenyewe inasema mtu huwa anakosea zaidi akiongea sana. Like you sin more when you talk more. So you sin less. Tuweke the direct opposite. You sin less when you talk less. Like as much as possible you want to be hard and all these. Si kila kitu unafaa kuongea. Si kila kitu. Like just filter your words. Na you don't have to be understood. People out here, they're as selfish as you are. They also want to be hard. So keep it to yourself. That's what I can say. And I'll give this story. Ndio nimalize sasa tuingie kwa business system officially. There was this man mwenye and this lady waliishi wakigombana. They were husband and wife. So this wife akaenda to a psychiatrist, akamuuliza, so what do I do? Mani a therapist. Akamuuliza, so what do I do? Akamwambia just a simple thing. Nono kenda nyumbani, eka maji kwa mdomo for a whole week. Then venye bwana akikuja alikuwa tu ameweka maji kwa mdomo. Bwana amekuja amekelelesha nini. Ameweka maji tu kwa mdomo. Na amezi ameweka na hiyo maji kwa mdomo mpaka bwana ende alale na kila kitu akaenda kulala zimetaa. For 1 week. Ikaenda 2 weeks, 3 months. Na funny enough, that's how they were able to save their marriage. Kumbe kinye ilikuwa inaharibu the relationship ama the marriage ilikuwa mdomo. So think about that. Now, that was just by the way. Now let's dive into our topic, our discussion. Yeah, that was also a discussion, but let us discuss on business systems. Now, as much as possible, I'll try to be simple venye nitaweza, because kidogo inaweza kuwa complicated kwa sababu vitu za business kidogo zinakuwa complicated, and I hope I won't be boring. Nikiwa boring, please raise your hand. Now, business systems, in simple words, these are just methods or structured processes that help a business to run effectively. That's what I can say. These are structured processes or methods that business use so that they may run effectively. Now, you may ask yourself, mbona tunasemanga business systems are important, and mbona nilikuwa nasema get to understand the game so that you may play the game well. Get to understand the game so that you may play the game well. One, ukijua a game venye inachezwa, utaweza kuiwin one easily and you won't use a lot of energy. The same thing, business systems zikiwa hapo, these are the guidelines, they are documented. This means hata the workflow na kila kitu hakuna venye zita collide ama vitu zitasimama because someone is not there or anything. And hata kurectify maybe an error, it will be so easy because people understand the system. They understand how the business is running. Now, basically that's the simple way ya understand the importance of a business system. Now, one of the key importance venye nimesema unaweza kuielewa. Now I'll just state them. One, scalability. When you don't have business systems, it will be so hard for you to scale. Mbona? Because expanding itakuwa hard, na since you won't be able to maintain proper operations. Ndio maana utapata Safaricom, hata kama from the day you registered a SIM card, for that period of time, hakuna siku yenye itawai miss ati imefika your birthday wamekosa kukutumia 1 GB of bundles. But then we were having that discussion, was it ni jana ama ni juzi, with our team. tulikuwa tunaulizana like, okay, hebu just try to understand mbona Safaricom wanakuwa na this thing. Na tulikuja tukakaa tukajua kwa it is just a system, and that's under customer service system. And yet they get to make the customer feel appreciated. Yes, na once you feel appreciated when tumekuwa tukiongea, definitely you want to buy more of their services kwa sababu utataka kufeel appreciated even more. That's a by the way. So scalability, it helps in scalability since one, if the foundation is good, you'll be able to build the entire building vizuri. Na kama foundation yako haiko strong enough, hakuna venye utasema utaweza kupeleka building mpaka 21st floor. Uongo. Venye umeka foundation yako ndio venye ita depend na venye, I mean your foundation it will be the basis of how tall your building can go. So think about it. So business systems in short, sasa hizi tu ni the foundations zenye zinasaidia the business to scale. The other thing is consistency and standardization. They ensure the process that processes on repeatable and reliable. In short, they ensure that processes are repeatable and reliable since one, kama mtu alikuwa an employee na akatoka na yeye ndiye alikuwa anajua how the business is running, waki-employ another person, it will be so easy for them to still run and still ensure that they meet up the targets na weze kufikia the customers and all that, since the system is there, the blueprints are there, so it will be easier for them to run. Another thing is efficiency and automation. Hakutakuwa na a lot of errors since you know what is meant to be done. So, kama ni how the product is supposed to be manufactured, kila kitu iko stated, so it will be easy for you to do what is required. Another thing is risk management and compliance. Since everything is stated, mtajua kama kuna kitu yenye haijafanyika venye inafaa. Kama for example, kama a contract inafaa kwa hivi na hivi na hivi, na contract flani haijastate hivyo, it will be so easy for you to rectify since mnajua. Kama kuna kitu imepotea seme kwa ofisi, it will be so easy to track na hata kujua kwa that thing is lost since mtakuja venye mnapitia tu through the system mtajua. Na hata pia kujaribu kujua nani mwenye aliiba ama mwenye alichukua, it will be easier to track since mnajua nani mwenye anafaa kuhandle hii na hii na hii. So pia itasaidia sana kama we have conflicts and all that kwa a business. Another thing is it improves customer experience. This is a very key thing since businesses are there to solve problems for customers. Food for thought. Kama mahali penye unafanya kazi, hata kama ni wa IT au mahali, just know that businesses are there to solve problems for customers. So your main thing is to serve these customers. So these systems, they help and they enhance service delivery and customer satisfaction. Why? Kuna a structured way of how you're supposed to deal with customers. Utapata maybe kama mahali ukienda, the first thing ukifika, by the way, before nini, yeah, the first thing ukifika, kuna kitu yenye mtu anafaa kukuambia, ama ukicall a certain company, this is how they're supposed to respond to you. Whether you call January, December, May, the same response ndio utapata. Ama there's a way venye kama niliona in another shop, Ruiru, ukifika, the first thing they do ni the customer service watakukaribisha, the mwenye ako in charge atakukaribisha hata kama ni the manager. Then the next thing that they will do, utapewa champagne. And trust me, by the time unatoka hapo lazima utakuwa umespend 20,000. That's just a system penye wameweka and it's working for them. So fikiria pia, whether you're employed or maybe you're your own boss, maybe you have a business, think of how to improve your customer service your customer experience. It helps a lot. Now, in business systems, napenda kuzistructure in 3 ways. We have the product pillar, we have the customer pillar, and the business pillar. The reason mbona nimeweka in these 3 pillars ni to make them simple. Now, business systems si lazima zikuwe complicated. Actually, zikuange complicated since utapata tu vitu tu zina run tu daily na watu wakuangi like wamekuwa confused ama wako wakaribu lose their minds na inakuanga just simple structures. Now we have the product pillar, the customer pillar, and the business pillar. Now, I'll start with the product pillar since it's the major thing, then the business pillar, then the customer pillar. Because lazima tuanze na manufacturing. Then, after imekuwa manufactured, who are the people who are supposed to be in charge of this and the processes zinakuwa made ndio tufikie the customer. The customer ndio wa mwisho. So, we'll start with the product, then the business, then the customer pillar. Under the product pillar, we have research and development. And that's the first thing. Then we have the research and development, then we have the product fulfillment system. Now, under the research and development, this is just basic thing. This is where you get to understand how will this product be manufactured, how will this product be valuable to this person. Nini mnaangalia like mki compare na your competitors, how is it? Then mna research the market and all these things. It's just the basic. You get to research. Then part of the development, you make sure that this, like in short, you manufacture or you process the product. Na kama ni a service, mna ensure kuwa these services are they are valuable to this other person. Then mnaweza hata kuzi-quantify. That's just the basic things. Na kama kitu kama teaching, kama if you are under coaching ama insurance, lazima pia utafute maybe agents. Kuna vitu zingine zenye lazima utafute. Kuna vitu zingine tu lazima you bring on board to make sure that the development of your product ama your service iko poa. Then the next thing we have the product fulfillment. The product fulfillment iko under customer pillar, since the product fulfillment ni when it gets to serve the customer. Iko commercial, but hiyo nitai-explain huko baadaye. Now we get to the business pillar. The business pillar iko na operation system, we have the management system, we have the human resource system, we have the legal system, we have the finance system, we have the purchasing system, we have the conflict and resolution system. To explain very briefly, naona time is so much spent, ndio maana najaribu kwenda mbio. Yes, under the operation system, in the day-to-day activities that they'll be running in your business. So unasema asubuhi watu wakifika 8 wanafaa kwenda ufinye biometric. After that HR wako na meeting na HR akisha nini what's next, HR anafaa kufanya hii, huyu anafaa kufanya hii, like the day-to-day activities ni step by step kila kitu yenye inafaa kufanyika during that day. After that, after a month, meeting gani yenye inafaa kuwa watu wa sales wanafaa kufanya nini, emails zinafaa kuangaliwa na kutuma saa ngapi, kama kuna social media branding yenye mnafaa kufanya inafaa kufanya saa ngapi. In short, operations ni inaangalia to the day-to-day activities. Then we have the legal. Legal is where you get to state mambo ya contracts, that one. Kama ni profits, sangapi, after how long are these people supposed to, tasema aje? According to the law, like the laws ya your company. Shareholders wako na rights gani, that one. Wanafaa kupata nini ngapi, Kama you are a global company, according to your law, mnafaa kulipa tax saa ngapi? Is the company registered? Taxes mnalipa. Are you complying to baka kama ni the other country? Are you complying to their laws? Have you gone against the law? Another thing ni inaitwaje, mambo ya legal inakuwa vitu mingi, kama pia contracts, nini nyiko kwa part of nini nyiko kwa contract. Are you in line with the labor laws ama mmeenda overboard? Like kila kitu, hata part of the legal ni hata kitu kama mnataka kuachilia tasemaje an employee, what are the processes? Hizo vitu zote ziko under legal, but basically legal ni mambo zenye zina comply na the government. Governance one ya the company internal, na pia government system kama ya Kenya ama hizo. That's basically it. Then we have the finance system. This is where you get to state one who is in charge. Each department inafaa kupata what percentage. Another thing, who is in charge of the financial statements. Nani mwenye anafaa come peane the briefing maybe to the shareholders. Nani mwenye ako in charge maybe kulipa watu na zinalipwa aje, but pia iko under HR. Finance inaongelea pia after how long are you supposed to audit your financial statements. Like financial statement ni anything to do with money. Like investors watapata pesa yao after how long, then wanapata which percentage each shareholder anahold, how many percentage, how do you calculate your profits, how do you calculate baka kuna hii nini inaitwaje your debts kama zinalipwa aje, the interest to companies, taxes. Hizo zote ziko under the financial system, and it's very very essential, since hii ndio ninaweza sema ndio roho ya kampuni. Kama hamna a steady cash flows, hakuna mahali mnaenda. So the finance system ina ensure, like in short, cash flows na maybe debts and the credits na assets and all these things, kama mnahitaji ku make investments and how much nini profit ya kampuni ngapi inafaa kwenda kwa investments, after that zinafaa kurudi aje, all that. In short, the entire process ya finance, it's under the finance system. Now we have the purchasing system of the procurement system. The purchasing or the procurement, hapa hiyo ina state ni the kind of vendors zenye mnafaa kuwa nao. Tuseme kama for example, kama ni vendor akikam on board, anafaa kukam on board aje. Na tuseme just tuseme niki-explain just briefly on purchasing and procurement. For example, mtu anataka kununua viti kwa kampuni, that's still under procurement. Mtu anataka kuleta viti kwa the office, na naona maybe the stationery na maybe the seats they are not okay. Anafaa kufuata procedure gani? Now that procedure iko under the procurement. Tuseme for example, mtu, if you are the procurement manager ama uko under procurement department, now unafaa kufuata steps gani ndio bako uweze kupata finances. Seme for example, unaweza anza uende uangalie the vendor. After umeshaenda kuangalia the vendor, you propose the idea maybe to the procurement manager. The procurement manager analyze, audit, then akiona iko poa aende aongee na the finance. If it's possible ama kama the budget it's in line, waone kama iko poa, iende maybe the COO. The COO ni the chief operation officer. The chief operation officer akiona iko sawa, then now the communication inakuwa passed down. Na kama si kitu, na pia kitu ingine iko part of the purchasing ama the procurement system ni decisions gani lenye lazima ifikie the chief operation officer. Kama budget ngapi, pia hiyo inafaa kuwa stated. Budget na pia nilisahau, pia hiyo inafaa kuwa stated pia kwa finance system. Ni under what circumstance enye maybe the procurement manager haizi make a decision, like in a certain budget enye lazima iende the higher executives. All that iko stated under the purchasing ama the procurement system. Hiyo yote inaonyesha tu the day to day activities pia ya the procurement na kila kitu venye zinafaa come on board. Na pia kitu ingine ya under procurement, maybe if you have maybe stores, kama you have books, ama you have niseme kama cement, nani mwenye ako in charge ya kuensure these things, ama niseme tu inventory, the person who is in charge of inventory, mwenye anaangalia pia the shipments, mwenye anaangalia venye zinakuwa offloaded, zimefikia their customers, like zikiingia kwa stores, zikitoka, all that is under the procurement. Pia inaangalia timelines na all that's under procurement. Procurement inaongelea basically ni mambo ya shipments. Nitasemaje? Buying, venye tumesema purchasing, buying for the company. Na hiyo sana sana ni expense at the company. So expense ya the company most of the time it's under the procurement, since ni mambo ya tuongelee stationery, tuseme kama you need stock, vitu hizo zote ziko under procurement. Now hiyo yote ndio iko under the procurement system. Then after that we have the human resource system. The human resource system, we talk of hiring, we talk of the payrolls, we talk of the people who are in charge of these people. No hiring, kuna venye now tuseme what are the procedures that the company follows to hire someone. Those are the key things. Maybe wana issue maybe a statement, ama wana advertise kuwa they need someone or a staff, or they have an open position for maybe in their company. So that position wana market then after that what do they do? Kuna an interview. After the interview, no, before the interview kuna kuanga na the advertisement, then people they send their CV, then wakamwa shortlists, unaona. Then after shortlisting wawaite nyi mkuje interview, then after interview watena wakuje wa make the final decision, then wakuambie. Zingine zinakuanga wai market, after marketing ama advertising wawaite, then after kuwaita wa shortlist, na hata sometimes unaambiwa hapo. So ina depend na system ya that company wameamua kufanyaje, and they are different. By the way, unaweza pata most of the times zinakuanga different, hakuna zenye zinakuwa the same. So this is just the system, that is the human resource system. Another thing ni time maybe they want to release, or somebody wants to tasamaje retire, process gani yenye mtu anapitia. Sema pia kama mtu anataka kuacha kazi, in terms of amechoka na kazi ama anataka kutafuta kazi nyingine, anafaa kufuata gani. Sema kama kuna hii inakuanga uwezi resign, ama you are supposed to issue a resignation letter 3 months prior. Ukikosa kufanya hivyo, maybe kuna penalties ama fine yenye unafaa kulipa, such kind of things. Hiyo tu ni a system yenye umeweka, na they are so different, na pia ina depend pia na rank. A chief executive officer haezi resign. Most of the time yenye nimeona, a chief executive officer haezi issue a resignation letter karibu 6 months, like after, like they're supposed to issue their resignation letter 6 months prior. Ndio wanasaidia pia the company sikuje kukarash venye wanaendelea. In short tu inasaidia like pia the business to continue running, hata in case somebody anatoka ama anaingia, inakuwa easier. Sema kama ya onboarding, yes, hiyo nishasema mambo ya human resource. Yeah, human resource tu ina deal tu na everyone. Then another thing ni who will be in charge of these people. Sema the HR, how are they supposed to tasemaje keep them on track, ensure kuwa things are done, but pia hiyo iko under the management system. Hizo zote, who will be in charge of them, wako wangapi, how many people do we need, kuna positions gani, hizo zote. After how long should someone be promoted, mambo ya team building, mambo ya kuwafunza skills, all that is part of human resource system. Na hizo zote kwa ina depend na the company, and it's very very essential for you to get to know this, because huwa inasaidia ni usiende mahali haujui their system na unataka kuwa kierere. Oh my god, utapigwa, unashangaa unapigwa kwa nini ni wewe hauko unajua. Kidogo before niendelee, kuna part ya the finance system naweza taka tuongelee sana. Getting to know the financial system ya company, it's very key, because pia you'll get to know their financial statements ama like their revenue. Ndio hata mwenyewe kama unataka kwenda ku quantify your nitasemaje, ukitaka kwenda ku quantify your skills ama your time there, it will be easier for you. Usiende ku state kitu yenye iko too high for them then wakuachilie wakudismiss. It's not good. Get to understand how they run and who they are, by the way. It will be easier for you. Management system ni tu watu wenye watakuwa in charge of all these people. Hiyo tu ndio iko. Nani mwenye anafaa kuwa in charge of procurement, nani mwenye anafaa kuwa in charge of finance, nani mwenye anafaa kuwa in charge of human resource, all that. In short, to the managers, and who are they supposed to be reporting to, when, how are they supposed to talk to their subordinates, hizo vitu zote. Ingine ni communication system, but hii inakata cross zote. The communication system inaongea mambo ya how message is passed both internally na externally. Kwa internally tuko na horizontal na vertical, how they supposed maybe to communicate, maybe peer, colleagues, peer to peer, maybe watu wenye wanafanya kazi nao, na how they supposed to be addressing issue, inafaa kupass aje from juu mpaka chini. Communication like before kitu ifikie the manager ama the CEO, inafaa kuipitia levels gani, vitu gani yenye the managers yenye wanaweza handle, vitu gani yenye lazima iende nitwaje the CEO ndio make the final decisions, decision gani yenye hawezi make without the investors na shareholders. Such kind of things ziko under the communication system. Kuna ingine yenye tulikuwa tumestate, kuna conflict resolution system. The conflict resolution system, they just state how you supposed to deal with the conflicts both internally na externally. How maybe sasa we have maybe kama vinye amesema mambo ya Super Metro, kumekuwa na that thing yenye one, it will affect their brand greatly. The media release, who are supposed to be in charge of the media release, who are supposed to be in charge of that crisis, in short mambo ya crisis management, who are they supposed to be in charge of that. Maybe the CEO wanafaa kukaa pamoja waongee, the investors lazima wakuwe informed. After investors, the PR team, their first statement wanafaa kuistate agenda, how are they supposed to like kuitengeneza. Hizo zote zinafaa kuwa part of the system. Like nini ingine, kuna nani mwenye anafaa kwenda kuappear before the media. Then after that sasa ni how they supposed to handle mambo ya kufanya maybe investigation. Hiyo yote iko part of the conflict and resolution system. Ingine ni how they maybe kama kumekuwa na challenge, maybe vendors wamechelewa kuleta their goods, how you supposed to handle that kind of thing. Na maybe kumekuwa na that maybe disagreement, maybe mmewalipa late, how you supposed to handle it, who is supposed to be in charge, inafaa kuendaje through the hierarchy. Maybe customer amesema maybe there's something that went wrong, ama the service ilikuwa poor, ama the product ilikuwa imeharibika or something of the sort, who is supposed to handle them, to handle that. Kitu ingine maybe kumekuwa na conflict within the company, maybe staffs wamegombana or something, we're supposed to be in charge of them. Maybe the disagreement escalate, who is supposed to come through, HR anafaa kuingilia wapi, ikifika level gani sasa ndio baka managers wanafaa kuinvolve, like hiyo yote, like hiyo baka hierarchy ni wapi yenye baka itabidi the board waitwe, baka the CEO and baka the founder. Like kuna hiyo levels, level gani yenye sasa itashinda CEO yenye lazima baka the founder and shareholders waitwe, level gani yenye pia ni board peke yao yenye wanaweza handle, ni level gani yenye inafaa kufikia baka directors. All that is stated under the conflict and resolution system. Now in short tu tumetengeneza tu ni kama ka foundation, tumetengeneza hiyo yote, tumezunguka, naona kama venye the sun yuko katikati, then the sun tuweke ndio ni kama the product, ndio the main thing and ina sustain, like it's the main thing, it's the main agenda ya this business. Then after that kuna sasa vitu zenye imezizunguka kama the planet. Now that's the business system. Now the sun, the main purpose of the sun need to supply the heat. Now the main purpose of a service and or a product is to be of value to the customer. Sasa ndo tunaenda sasa tunaongea about the customer pillar. Under the customer pillar we have the marketing system. Marketing system tunaongea mambo ya social media, we do talk of kuna itanga door to door marketing, tunaongelea mambo ya email marketing. In short, how are they supposed to know for this service or this product is available? You tu ndio the simplest way I can explain, like how, like the process ni wapi penye tafika mali penye sasa tutasema we need to have an ad campaign. After how long are we supposed to have the ad campaign? Watu wangapi wenye wanafaa kwenda door to door? What the people who are supposed to be in charge of the email? Kama tunafanya mambo ya social media content, who are the ones who are supposed to be in charge of that content? Gani yenye tunaweka? Videos zinakuwa edited lini? Such kind of things ndio iko under the marketing. Sales kuna onboarding. Under sales system kuna onboarding, we have the retain and feedback. Onboarding hapo ni after mmeshafanya marketing, maybe mmepata leads and all that, watu wamewajua, so kama mshawapata, so kama already mshapata like at least leads, how you supposed now to take this lead sasa ndio uweze kuwa your customers. Now like ni sasa that process tumeruka from marketing now to sales. How now do we sell to these people? Now hiyo tu iko simple. So kama ni under the customer system, I mean nimesema yes, under the sales, kwa sales we talk of mambo ya nitasema we have the follow-ups, that's one. We have maybe the customer wakuje maybe to your company, they get a taste of what you do. Maybe kuna hizo mambo ya email marketing, you get to kuwakumbusha and all that. Then after that, what's the system ya now sasa kuwaleta on board? We have onboarding. Maybe you have to maybe assist them maybe in unwrapping the products, ama you get to explain to them, maybe kama ni mtu kama seme kama ameenda shule, kuna hiyo orientation and all that, how are they supposed to naona kutumia maybe your product or your service, that's onboarding. Na maybe sasa umewauzia and all that, that's just part of onboarding. Like in short, umewaleta on board. What how are they supposed to pay, the payment method, who is supposed to get back to them, the kind of response after kulipa inafaa kuwa gani? Hizo zote ziko under the onboarding na pia iko part of the sales. Ingine ni sasa sales tumewauzia, wanajua na wako nayo. So after sales, what do we do next? Mambo ya sales nimesema sales we have onboarding, then kitu ingine tuko na retaining. Sales kwangu nitasema tu kwa sales hatuuzangi tu kitu. Once you've gotten this customer, you purpose to retain them. Why? Ukishindanga ukisema tu unaenda kutafuta customers, utachoka. Na lakini if you have like quality customers and customers who do trust your brand, and day in day out they will prefer using your product or being your customer than kwenda kwingine, that's so much better, because now you'll be focusing on increasing the numbers than kwenda kutafuta new customers. So as much as possible, ensure that they get a good customer experience. So that's part of sales. We have the retain. Then kitu ingine ni feedback. After using your product, how can they give back their feedback, and how do you respond to their feedback? Ndio maana unapatanga kwa products most of the time wanakuanga na warrant. The warrant mostly inakuanga tu kwa retain and for them to feel appreciated and secure. And kama maybe wamestate maybe kuna an issue or something, how do you respond to it? yoyote iko under the sales system. The reason unajua mtu anaweza shangaa mbona nasema under the sales system. Sales si tu kupata customers, but it's also to retain them. Yes, that's all for the business systems. Hope sijaongea mingi and hope umeelewa. Yeah, so under the business system, it's just simple. We have the product pillar, we have the customer pillar, and we have the business pillar. Under that, sasa ndio kuna the subsystems, ndio nimezitaja hizo zote. Thank you very much. Hope this discussion has been of value to you. Yes, hope you've learned. Yeah, thank you. Yes, naona George ameinua mkono.
Unaongelea product fulfillment.
Yes.
Unaongelea product fulfillment.
Oh, okay, product fulfillment. Okay. Product fulfillment, we talk of, sasa hapo ni after sales. Oh, I'm sorry, but thank you kwa kunikumbusha hiyo. Yes, the product fulfillment ndio pia nimesema mambo ya warrant. Now the customer ame take this product or the service na ameenda ameitumia. That's part of the product fulfillment. In short, ni the process on how now to get the product or the service from the business to the customer. That process inafaa kupitia process gani yoyote. In short, nika system tu ya kuonyesha like this product imetoka hapa, tuseme kama ni books ama tuseme cement imetoka kwa the company, imechukuliwa na this lorry. After this lorry ikafika hapa, after hapa huyu mtu ndiye alichukua, after kuchukuliwa ikaenda hapa. That's how. Kama ni mambo ya coaching, the product fulfillment ni after tumewa train, hawa staff wamekuja, tukawa train, after kuwa train wakaenda wakawafunza, after kuwafunza this and this, like the product have it achieved its goal, its main purpose. Basically that's it. Has it fulfilled what it was intended to fulfill? That's the product fulfillment. Na kuna kitu pia watu wao wanasahau kwa part of the product fulfillment ni get to inquire whether those people ama your customers wali feel served. Like do they feel the samaje? Do they feel like what do they feel the worth of their money? I'm sorry for that. Do they feel the worth of their money? Do they feel served? Did the product meet up to their expectations? Yes. Like basically tu ni wana feel ni kama kenye walikuwa na expect waliweza kuipata. That's the product fulfillment niyo from the company ama sasa from the source baka ikafikia the customer. That process yenye inafaa kupitia. Now that's under the product fulfillment. George, have I answered your question?
Yes.
Yes. This discussion imekuwa of value. Unaona kama you've learned something?
A lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate. Yes. Now, thank you for your time, guys. Naona it's almost 9. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. And I'm really grateful. And tupatane kesho. Good night. Yeah, good night. Tupatane kesho.